I need to say thank you to so many people, and we have worked with so many other researchers, built on the work of other researchers. Many people who are in this room or who wrote to me and couldn't be here today, we've built on their work. We had outstanding undergraduates, master's students, and doctoral students who assisted in SRSD research. And a hint, if you have trouble finding people to work for you and you don't have big money, go to the undergrads. For a research associate position, you don't have to pay them, just give them credit, and they love it and they're awesome. And hundreds of teachers and students who worked for us. And two groups I really want to quickly mention, thinksrsd.com and SRSD Online. Without them, SRSD would not be very present in schools. With them, we're inching our way in. Okay. Real quickly, writing matters. I probably don't need to say too much to you, and you can read faster than I can talk, even faster than I can talk. So you can just skim that. The point is that it's neglected, and that especially our students who are marginalized, who come from low-income areas, regardless of race, low-income children who are white, who are black, who are mixed race, all of our lower income children are at a great disadvantage in writing. They are the lowest of the low, along with students with disabilities. Does it really matter? Well, guess what? For years, decades, we have believed that it's math and reading that matter the most. Some studies actually indicate that math and writing are more important than math and reading. In addition, almost all our jobs today, if you want a good job, you better be able to write. Even a cop came in one of the classrooms I was visiting, and he was visitor of the day, and he said, "You want to be a cop, learn to write." I have used my gun twice in my entire career, and I write every day. And our teachers aren't prepared, and that has made it really difficult for them to teach writing well. I have yet to work in a place that had a course on writing, none of the universities I've been at, and that is consistent across the country. We are going to watch one of my favorite short videos about why writing matters, so I don't have to talk so much.
Writing is the most cognitively demanding skill that we ask students. Reading is hard. You can make sense of other people's ideas, decipher them, interpret them, but it's other people's ideas. Writing is from our own brain. It's our own ideas, in our own language, in our own voice. It's complicated. Think about everything that it takes to write. It's intentional. You have to hold a pencil or a pen in your hand. Just the right grip, not too high, not too low. Hold it to the paper. Just the right amount of pressure. And form a series of lines and curves. Know that they go together to form letters. And the letters go together to form words. The words go together to form sentences. The sentences go together to form paragraphs. The paragraphs go together to form an essay or a letter or a story or a speech. And you need to have a beginning and a middle and an end. You need to have transitions to help those ideas flow from one to another. And you need to have varied sentence structures. Varied sentence length. You need to know the sentences begin with a capital letter, ends in punctuation, and sometimes there's punctuation in the middle. You need to have good ideas, original ideas. And you need to have the vocabulary to express those ideas with precision and in a way that engages your audience. And you have to do it all alone, holding the pencil to the paper, forming those letters one by one. It's complicated. And you know what happens most often when students write a paper? Research indicates that teachers rarely give feedback, and when they do, it's brief and focused on surface-level features like spelling, grammar, punctuation. But it's not just grammar and punctuation on that paper. That's someone's mind, their ideas, their heart. It's probably their best effort. It could be their history, their future, their dreams. So why are we so focused on surface-level features? There's not a single time in your life where you've read something, set it down, and reflected. The punctuation in that story was amazing. That declarative sentence, it moved me.
I'm going to stop it here. The link is in the PowerPoint. Anyone, you want the PowerPoint, I'll be happy to send it to you. And then, whoop, I think I'm going to stop. Okay. And we'll go back to the PowerPoint. She goes on to describe the study that she did, which was excellent. They left me. One of them was going to stay. Let's see if that works. Okay, good. So it's easy to find on YouTube. I'm going to not talk through these slides because she pretty much told you this slide. This slide I'm going to spend just a moment on. Skilled writers use self-regulation procedures throughout the writing process. And that's part of why this ended up being called self-regulated strategy development. That shouldn't be so hard, right? Well, let's see. You simply need to evaluate the writing test, determine skills and strategies needed, create a good writing environment, identify when and why to engage in what aspects of writing, manage your affect, cognition, and behavior, manage your attention, effort, persistence, and your time. And that's not even a complete list. So SRSD is what? It's an evidence-based practice. You can skim through that list of organizations who've declared it evidence-based. Probably the most important one has been the IES, What Works Clearinghouse Practice Guide on writing in the elementary grades. Now, SRSD goes K through 12, but I'm going to focus on elementary and what I talk about today. We already heard some of this, so I'm going to just skip through it, except to note that we are continually refining SRSD. New theories, new ways of looking at theories. Some of it changes the SRSD, some of it changes how we understand why it's working. All right, SRSD is based, and Sharon did such a lovely job of mentioning this, it is based on theoretical, not just integration, but also triangulation. I'm going to quickly show you some of the ways in which I see theories as working on the same general concept. We can quibble, definitions differ, we don't have time for that extended discussion, but I hope to put more in the paper that comes out of this. Criterion-based learning, multiple theories support it. Active and engaged learning, these are just a few, there are more. Scaffolding, okay? Did you know that behaviorists introduced scaffolding into education way before ed psych? Ooh. Yes, okay. No, I need to go back one. Uh-oh. Okay, that's good. They called it, one of this set of authors called it an excursion into the lion's den, because they weren't supposed to be that concerned with self-regulation because it's not directly observable. But Skinner never said cognition affect didn't matter. He just said we don't know how to measure them yet. So we're going to focus on behavior. There's so many misunderstandings about behavioral theory, but successive approximations is what we called it. It's what I learned in my teacher education. I had 2 undergraduate degrees, one gen ed, one special ed. Gen ed taught me what to teach, special ed taught me how to teach. Unfortunately, a lot of that division still exists today. Social-emotional development and learning are important. Attitudes, beliefs are important. I missed, there it is. I wanted to go back to this last point on scaffolding. Have you seen the latest AERA handbook on teaching? You know, it's like that big, it's a monster. You go toward the end of the book, and I left the reference at home, but maybe I didn't really want it up here anyways. But one of the authors says this in her chapter. Scaffolding is nothing but the meaningless stringing together of bits and pieces, and goes on to say, as do other authors, including in this book, that social cultural theory is the only theory useful for teaching and learning. Oh, it gets worse, we'll get there. Then we know that attitudes and beliefs are important to learning. There's the theories. Now we got a new one, mindset. Now, this is one of the things that drives me crazy in educational research. We keep rediscovering the same dang thing. Mindset, is it new? Excuse me? How many of you know attribution theory? Yeah, right? Okay, look. Mindset. In a fixed mindset, students believe their basic abilities, their intelligence, their talents are fixed. In a growth mindset, students understand talents and abilities can be developed through effort, good teaching, and persistence. Duh. Since 1982, SRSD has directly addressed all of that, helping Helping students learn to put forth effort, persistence, and to believe that good teaching matters. We start by telling our kids, it's not your fault your teacher hasn't taught you this yet. This is new stuff, and most teachers don't even get a class. We just tell them the truth, even the little ones. Most teachers don't even get a class on teaching writing, and your teacher's wonderful, and she's learning this too. Attribution theory. 1958, we have the original proposal by Hyder. He wanted to know whether people attribute outcomes to internal or external factors. If we keep looking at the history, you skim it, I'm not going to go through it. We got Ryder, we got Weiner. We found by 2006 that the most common attributions for academic achievement were ability, effort, test difficulty, and luck. In mainstream American culture, Sandra Graham wrote a paper that said the two things that appear to be used the most are effort and ability. That's a lot of grown-ups. That's not a whole lot of kids. Now, what about attribution development? We used to call it attribution training. Training is a no-no word these days, so I'm just calling it attribution development. We teach students to restructure their thinking. We see a lot of that happens in SRSD. We talk about how to get yourself started, what to say. We talk about what goes on in your head when you have to write. Did you know by third grade that almost 80 to 90% of kids in this country dislike or outright hate writing? Third grade. Yeah, a lot of nodding, if you've got kids, you may have run into this. And it has very positive effects when we directly address changing the way we think about ourselves, about effort and ability. All right, so let's see what students and teachers are doing. I'm going to take you on a whirlwind tour of some of the current research, a meta-analysis that goes back to 2013 when it was published, but then recent work on grades 4 and 5, recent work on grades 1 and 2, where Sharon's work came into play, and then how young can we go from there, and finally, what are we doing with professional development for SRSD? All right, SRSD effects were looked at 2013. It was 28 studies. Let's look at what we got. Okay, for post-test, quality, effect size 1.75, elements, effect size 2.24, length 0.47. Often length is even lower than that because we're not teaching to write more, we're teaching to write better. Later, when we get into more sophisticated strategies, we push for more paragraphs, we push for more explanation, we get more length. How about at maintenance? I'm so tired of hearing people bemoan maintenance. Guess who figured out how to crack maintenance in the 70s? The behaviorists. You can't just hope and pray. In fact, that was the title of an article. You got to plan for it, structured it, and scaffolded it, and it works. Quality 1.30, elements 1.41, length, nope, nothing. Not that unusual. And then we have generalization. We have quality 1.1, elements 1.55, and length 0.46. This is relatively near generalization, and it's supported. Kids are told to use what they've learned in these other things. Okay, so that takes care of that. We're going to skip this for now. We'll listen to the teachers and kids if we have time toward the end. And Sharon, I don't have a clock up here. Can you give me like a warning when we get like 10 minutes out? Okay. Why are effect size so large? Two things. One, remember what current writing instruction looks like? Teachers don't know how to teach writing. And the first thing that they don't do when time is short, and it is short, is let writing go. Reading and math come first, they're tested more, and therefore, we're in trouble. We teach strategies for self-regulation, goal setting, self-talk, self-monitoring, and self-reinforcement, and they make a huge difference. The second reason we get large effect sizes is because we want it all. We're working on all of it. You've read that, I don't have to read it, but we're working on cognition, affect, behavior, we're working on knowledge, we're working on attitudes, beliefs, and on and on. All right, this study focused on close learning, close reading to learn and writing to persuade. For the last decade and a half, my work has been reading to learn and writing to inform or persuade, and it's been in professional development. Those references will take you through the data. This is a set of strategies kids learned and used very, very well. Yes, we use mnemonics. I'm in a room full of educational psychologists. I get grief from some people for the mnemonics. You just teach mnemonics. You know why they're there. Memory. They support memory and they allow more automatic and competent performance. Penny's pretest. I'm not going to She read this article, okay, on Fit Kids. She then had the opportunity to write and explain to classmates why they should be fit, and then that's what she wrote. I do not know how opinion strategy paragraph, it is hard for me. So that's it, she just said no. Penny's post-test. Now, she learned all the strategies. She marked up text, she found main ideas, she found support for main ideas, she found the basic tenet, the topic sentence, and she thought about how to make it a good one. She marked up that text, she chose what to use. She had more than she needed, and because she was being timed in her writing, she had learned to be efficient. She made notes. This is the hardest thing we teach kids to do, is make notes. She wrote a much, much improved. We have a long way to go, but she's now on the playing field. All right, let's look at another kid, same grade level, this is 4th and 5th grade. Rainforest, well marked up. The stars indicate the big ideas this student has decided to use in the time he has. And by the way, these kids were all, I know that here's another no word today, struggling writers. We can talk about that later. I do not like what's going on with that. These kids are struggling. They are 1, 2, and 3 years behind grade level, and I refuse to turn my back on them, and I refuse to call them not at risk, at promise. Excuse me? It's a call for help. When we say kids are struggling, it is a call for help. Okay, I said it all. And he made great notes, and he wrote an excellent essay. Now, where would we go with this kid? Multiple paragraphs. He's ready. This is all one big long paragraph. He can do even more. He's got a great hook. He's got a great opening. He's got a really nice ending. And you see all the numbering he's doing down the side? That numbering is him counting his parts. Now, basically, he should have 8 basic parts. What number does he get to? 10. Because he did more than the minimum. So it's always right and say more if you can. All right? Graphs. This is how students monitor their progress. The first rocket, with only 2 parts out of 8, 3 parts out of 8 in it, was the pretest. Now, we don't color in the pretest at the beginning of instruction. We do it later so they can see their progress. The second set of rockets is done with the teacher or a peer. Look at the number of parts up above. If they have more than the 8, they get to bust the rocket, they get to color in the flames, and they use the stars for good linking words, good vocabulary words. That's done with the teacher, and these are independent. Whoa. That's the scaffolding, right? Students discussing the rockets. I just want you to hear this really quickly. It was to show how many parts you added, and when you look at the rockets in your previous ones, it can show you how much you've grown and how much you've learned. The teacher says, do you like doing this? And the student says, it makes them feel good, because usually with the strategy, you will definitely improve. I like that. There's considerable debate in the field. Now we're going to shift wheels. We're going to shift into 1st and 2nd grade. There's a lot of debate in the field, the reading field and the writing field. Should 1st and 2nd graders learn both? Should they learn to read? Yes. Should they then learn to write? And should they go ahead and start writing when they haven't mastered all the basic skills? Handwriting, spelling, right? The predominant theory in this country has been wait. Get handwriting in there, get sentence construction in there, and then let them write. Well, nonsense. Yes, they can. You see the title. This was a study I did with Young Suk Kim and our other authors, developing transcription skills and oral language in tandem with instruction on close reading of science text to write informative essays with the little ones. Okay? Students not only learned the strategies they would need, but they also learned characteristics of good writing. This is what we call general characteristics of good writing. Get in there with a very clear topic sentence. As we get to 2nd grade, hook the reader. Some 1st graders can learn to use a hook, but it's a lot. We were asking 1st graders to do a lot, and you've read ahead of me. So all of that's important. These kids learn POW also. Pick an idea, pick my position, pick what I'm teaching about, consider topic, audience, and purpose, organize notes. That's the hardest thing. It takes so much time for these kids to learn to make notes, but we hang with them and hang with them. What do they want to do? all the way through 5th grade, write out full sentences, and then copy them over to their essay. They don't want to make notes. Use with any type of writing, and it gives kids power. One classroom was Power Rangers, another classroom was superheroes with power when writing. It was a lot of fun. They learned this basic mnemonic. It stands for the parts of writing to inform. This is the 2nd grade version. We did not ask 1st graders to have 3 or more big ideas. What you don't see here at these grade levels is explain your big ideas. Let's just start with finding the big ideas, and we can get into explaining later. They had all these other things to do. There were 93 children in grades 1 and 2. You can read ahead of me. It was random assignment. It is an underpowered RCT. This is study 1, funded by IES, and study 2 is now under review. This is how they marked up text. They could use colors, or they could just use lines and circles and pencils, but this teacher used colors, and this was done by teachers teaching small groups. So you see how they marked up for the topic sentence, the big ideas, and the ending that they were reading in text. Let's look at a grade 1 sample. Okay, this is Pat. This kid's so cute. Okay, he read about animals. Why do animals have tails? Okay, there are flies and there are preds. Now we think that was predators, which was in the text. Pat declined to even write it all at pretest, and he didn't like being on line paper. All right. Now, in his post-test, he planned. Hair keeps you safe. It helps you be warm. Remember, write and say more. When he actually wrote, he wrote, you need hair to be warm, you need hair to be safe, eyelashes keep you from getting sand in them. Okay, it's a small step, but a giant step for a 1st grader. Let's think about all we could do from here. He understands. We can go back to topic. Oh, there's so much we can do, so much fun we can have. This is grade 2, real quick. Again, they read about birds, and this kid wrote, birds fly because they can. That was his pretest planning, and his pretest writing was birds fly because so they can survive and get food. All right, here he is after instruction. Look at the plan. So they start out on a structured graphic organizer that we give them, and then we switch them over to creating their own graphic organizer on scratch paper, and we ask the 1st graders, why are you learning to do this? And one little girl looks at me like that, she goes, well, if we can't write it down, how can we do it when you're not there? Oh, okay, that was the point. All right, he's got, cats are very popular, he's got a hook. They have a very cool language. First of all, he wrote big ideas. First of all, the normal sounds meow, 2nd sound a purr, 3rd sound a chatter, final is a hiss, and his ending. He wrote a full sentence there. Okay, I'm not going to quibble too much. And this is his final essay. Cats are very popular. That wasn't even in the notes. They have a very cool language. The 1st sound is a meow. They meow when they are hungry or need care. The special sound is a purr. They purr when you pet them or when they're hungry. A 3rd sound is a chatter when they are excited. If you play with a cat, listen to its sounds. He also had a very nice ending. All right. Just go to the green. There's more information here. You can get the study. It's in Contemporary Ed Psych. It came out just a little bit ago. Moderate to large effect sizes in our writing outcomes across quality, elements, and length, and in language skills, spelling, and discourse knowledge. These kids were interviewed before and after. They didn't know much about how to write to inform. They didn't know much about how to read to learn. And at the end, they were just spitting it out. It was so much fun. All right, late kindergarten, I'm gonna go real fast. Just because the teachers said so, they weren't in the study. They had that unit that you do in kindergarten on wild animals and pets and domestic animals. And then the teacher said, write about would you like to have a bear for a pet? So here we go. I do not want a bear as a pet. No, I do want a bear as a pet. I will teach him karate, he can play with me. Also, his fur is warm. Okay, he hasn't quite got the wild versus domestic thing down yet. This kid planned. He had a plan before he wrote. Pretty cool, kindergarten. This kid, yes, I want a bear as a pet. We're really on a roll here. They all want bears. I like to make friends with them. I like to help them as a vet. Also, I get to clip their nails. And this one, she's actually got the point. No, I did not want a bear. They roar. This is a he. They roar. They have sharp claws. They have sharp teeth. This is why I don't want a bear as a pet. She's even got an ending. And that's the plan. And this kid, no, I do not want a bear as a pet. It can eat me. It roars very loud. It can kill me. All right, now we'll go to PD research. Sharon, where am I on time about? Okay, now we go to professional development. Several $100 million have been invested in research and professional development through IES and other agencies, with literally no effects on student outcomes. If you've seen the Mirage or the New Teachers Project or more, you will have read about this. They focused only on math and reading, and Mike Schmoker, who's now a friend of ours, turns out he lives down the street from us, who would have known? He wrote this article, and I went, light bulb. The problem with the PD research is it's not focused on evidence-based practices. It's focused on giving teachers more knowledge about what they teach, but not better ways to teach. Neither of the groups who studied this and did these big reports looked for writing PD. All of it was missed, it's never mentioned, and we're ignored all the time. Math ignores us, reading ignores us. We're still not on the same stage with them. All right, 21 studies of PD. I'm not going to say all this, you can look at it. We do not have the measures we need in writing. We do not have decades of development of norm reference measures. We do not have decades of development of teacher outcome measures. And here's the problem with norm reference measures. Learning one genre doesn't transfer to another. So if I'm teaching reading content and writing to inform, and I give the WEOP, they want you to write a story. Well, that one wants an opinion. If I give the TOEL, they want a story. I didn't teach you that. So we get criticized all the time on grants and articles. Why didn't you use a norm referenced outcome measure? Because they don't exist. We said that on page 14. Okay. The largest single study had 829 students. The small study was single case design, 6 grades 1 to 9, but most work was in grades 3 to 5, unique studies 19. The US, Portugal, and Spain, 1 qualitative study involved a randomized control teacher participants, and 1 RCT was a subgroup analysis of a larger SRT. What did we get? I'm only giving you a little bit of it, I don't have time. Holistic quality and elements are considered the 2 most important outcomes. So what did we get across these studies? 1.75 for quality, in effect size, and 2.24 in use of genre elements. Teacher fidelity was very high, as was quality across the studies that reported it. And social validity, which means teachers believed that it was important and they wanted to keep using it, was also very high. All right, I can't read this to you, just skim it. These are other student outcomes that exist and have been studied in these studies. We are failing to decide where to focus, and so we are all over the place in different studies. That's okay, but we need to decide and get more focused as a body of research. Real quick, what happens when students don't understand how to self-regulate and evaluate their writing? I just had to do this, Steve. I stuck it in there this morning. He told me I didn't have time. All right. Abraham Lincoln, these are 8th to 12th graders at the top. These are collected by a man named Richard Lederer, and they're all real. Abraham Lincoln became America's greatest president. Lincoln's mother died in infancy, and he was born in a log cabin which he built with his own hands. Series of events, it's not real good here. When Lincoln was president, he wore only a tall silk hat. He said in Onion, there's strength. Well, on the night of April 14, 1865, Lincoln went to the theater and got shot in his seat by one of the actors in a moving picture show. The believed assassinator they left in the spelling errors, was John Wilkes Booth, a supposedly insane actor, and this ruined Booth's career. The 19th century was a time of many great inventions and thoughts. The invention of the steamboat caused a network of rivers to spring up. Cyrus McCormick, in, again, sequence of events. Cyrus McCormick invented the McCormick wrapper, which did the work of 100 men, and Samuel Morse invented a code of telepathy. Now, these are the little kids writing about what they learned. You can listen to Thunder After Lightning and tell how close you came to getting hit. If you don't hear it, you got hit, so never mind. You would get a lot of formative assessment out of kids. He's not totally wrong. Many dead animals in the past changed to fossils while others preferred to be oil. I love this one. Some oxygen molecules help fires burn while others help make water, so sometimes his brother gets And finally, some people can tell what time it is by looking at the sun, but I've never been able to make out the number. I'm going to quickly hit. In this room, good. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to be very quick here, and we'll have time for questions. But in this room, there are many people who want to do and already doing and are committed to doing school-based research. There are significant difficulties encountered, but boy, is it worth it. But I want to take a quick look at what some of those are. If you want to know more, there's 2 references here that go into this in much more depth. And again, I'll send you the PowerPoint. Here are 2, let's start with something good. Here are 2 strategies that have been found in this review up above to really be helpful. And we have found them helpful as well. Long-term research practice partnerships. You got to work your way into schools. You got to do something for them. Steve and I and Deborah Spees provided PD for every special ed teacher in the state of Maryland for free on why they were assessing learning disabilities wrong and how to do it right. Then we had a lot of good relationships and embedding researchers within leaders. We need to be present at the ASCD conferences. We need to be present at the conferences of education leaders, okay? And we need to offer them something they care about. This is by Julie Owens and Deborah McCowan, but you can see all the things that get in the way of getting this done in school. And remember that when something has to go, what gives? Writing. The time is one of the biggest significant barriers we have. I have a 4th grade curriculum. I could show you a table. These kids learn 37 or 38 forms of writing in 4th grade. What? It's like a buffet table. Oops, I don't know how to do anything at the end. All I know is I can. Now it's all a big mix. We have 3 major genres kids need to know to do well in school, to learn, to get jobs. Writing to inform. Writing goes opinion, persuasive, argumentative across the grade levels and gets more and more sophisticated, and writing narrative. Unfortunately, we are now engaged in disengaging from narrative because schools are focusing their tests and the government is focusing the testing on informing or arguing. Narrative matters too. Okay, quickly, teachers. The single biggest approach to teaching writing in this country is whole language, Writer's Workshop. I love it. Everything that's done in Writer's Workshop can be and has been by many, many teachers integrated with SRSD. You just got to press pause on the conferencing button and actually teach something so that kids don't just try to figure it out for themselves. I just worked with the superintendent and said, look, if I tell my teachers they have to change Writer's Workshop, I'll have a walkout. Okay, we went to a different district. Okay. Oh, this one's really bad. Writing wars, reading wars, methodology wars. I'm sick of wars, and I know everybody in this room agrees. Let's just skip to the green. This was written to a group of researchers, not me. This was shared with me by another strategies instruction researcher who doesn't do SRSD. Strategy instruction approaches are the product of state and national policies that are driven by a lack of knowledge about bilingualism and a fundamentally racist perspective. It goes on from there and it's not nicer. What? These editors also claim that only social cultural theory could be used morally and effectively in educational research. We are running into this in journal after journal, over and over, in content areas and in general journals. These guys are no longer editors of this particular journal, but this is one of the leading journals in writing. Additional barriers, state learning standards and curriculum adoption. They don't care about evidence-based. A study showed that they do not look at evidence-based when they select curriculum and or supplemental teaching approaches. And I will end with this argument. Okay. Achieving social justice requires all of us. The future is up to us. I'm going to plug complexity science because I think it's going to make all the difference in the world. You can read this later, definitions of it. I want to point out that Jonathan Hilpert and Gwen Marchand, our co-program director, have the very first chapter on complexity science written in EdSite coming out in the new handbook. Yeah, and Gwen and I have a special issue on complexity science and education coming out. Okay, we're stronger together, and questions.